So I will start with the reason why she was saying you can ask questions throughout is because I'm an interactive kind of gal. So I already found out we have a candy supplier store and we have a business interior store. What else do we have in the house? What are you? What business? Forensic accountant. Ooh, we love you. I have people like you that work for the companies I work with. That's awesome. And what about you? Office furniture. So similar, same company, different company? Different company. Ooh, opposite corners. You see how that works. He's one of mine. What about you? What business do you represent today?
Advertising.
Advertising. Ooh, nice. I refer to people like you. What about you?
We're a manufacturer of home brewing equipment.
Oh yeah, you told me that already. You did at my booth. I asked you because I thought you were brewing and selling to restaurants, and you said no, you were selling to the people. See, you don't even remember me. Okay. So my name is Shanon Bose. My business is Breakthrough Business Advisors. I started this 10 years ago after about 15 years in banking. So I was a personal banker, I was a business banker, I was a financial advisor. I owned failing businesses that didn't go well because, you know, live and learn, young and dumb. But then banking came after. And I learned a lot with banking. Banking was wonderful. As a business consultant, one of the things I do is I come in and I look to save money on things that you're already paying for, which is something that you can do for yourself, just as easy. There even are companies that are like me that will charge you to review all the different things based on the amount of savings that they get you. But what I'm gonna say is, when times get tight, like right now, we have this economic environment where, you know, everything prices are they're even sometimes going up, coming down, going up, you know, it's just crazy, it's volatile. And knowing your numbers matters, right? Knowing how to cut costs without cutting quality matters, right? And when times like this happen, you can raise your prices, which might reduce your sales, and you don't want that. Or you can look at the things that you're already paying for. It could be as simple as your garbage service. If you call your garbage service and say, I'm shopping and I want to look at a couple different different garbage companies, what's your best rate? You'll be surprised at what they'll take off of your bill. But you don't know if you don't ask, and that's the thing. Business services like your cable. You ever notice they give you a great rate to come in, and then the rate wears off, and they'll keep charging you that higher rate unless you call them and tell them, I noticed that rate wore off, and now you're charging me more than you used to charge, and I want it back. And then they'll give you a new offer, whatever the new offer of the day is. So this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about, where you find money that you don't have to spend that you're currently spending. So you're not cutting your costs on your customers, right? You're not giving them any lesser quality, you're not giving them lesser services, but you're managing to all of a sudden have a lot more on your bottom line. And that's the kind of stuff I do. One of my main things that I like to do is payment processing. People don't know what they don't know. If you're not in the industry and you weren't trained, you don't know. B2B is my favorite. You know, if you're a business selling to businesses, 9 times out of 10, they're paying a lot more than they're supposed to. Not just a little, a lot. And it's because they don't know efficiencies that are available. You know, I've walked into manufacturing companies that have a brick terminal on the counter, and the lady who takes the order takes the credit card over the phone and types it into the brick terminal. That's the worst possible rate, because the card's not present and you're only getting the card information because you're putting it into a brick. And it's not efficient because that brick isn't even retaining that number for you. So I would come in and I would say, let's talk about a virtual terminal. In that virtual terminal, she can still take the order over the phone if you want her to. That's fine. But she's going to open up a portal, which is like a website, but it's just extra secure. She's going to open that portal and she's going to put the payment information in. If you are a business selling to a consumer, having the address and the zip code, sometimes the CVV, gets you a better rate because the card's not present, so the risk is the highest, right? When you're a business selling to a business, not only do you want that address, you want a purchase order number. and you want an SEC code that types what product you're selling. And because of that, now the credit card company goes, oh, it's probably not fraud, which is the whole thing. They charge you those super high prices because they think that it's fraud if the card isn't present. Because when it comes to credit card processing, everything is tied to risk. If the card's here, it's probably your card, right? But if it's just numbers that you gave to somebody over the phone, it could be your neighbor's card or a card you found or whatever. So when it comes to credit card processing, talking to somebody like me, as an example, that will talk to you about how you're taking a credit card, all the ways that you're taking a credit card, to find the best way to get you the best rates. The other thing that I'll do is I'll help you make sure that it's set up properly in the fact that, like, if it was B2B, there's some back end work that I have to do to say what kind of industry, what kind of thing are you selling. So like with your brewing stuff, if you were selling to a business your brewing stuff, we would have an MCC code for the manufacturing type that you are. But if you sell to customers, then you don't do the level 3 processing where we add that, but you do want to have the address and the name, zip code for where you're sending for who you're getting your payment from, right? As an example, in the credit card processing space, I had a jewelry store. It was my favorite story. I called. I had never met him before, but I was calling to try to get an appointment. And he told me, absolutely no way, no how am I interested in talking to anybody about my credit card processing, because you guys are all, whatever. And I said, no problem, I understand. He said, I have my guy, that I've had my guy for 11 years. I did my research, I got the best, I'm good. So that's awesome. Does he review your processing every 3 years or so though? No. So the problem is, with credit card processing, we sign you up and you have a 3-year contract. That contract is not only protecting us from you leaving during that 3 years, it's protecting you for your rate. At the end of that 3 years, now they start adding all these little fees, and all they do is throw a little blurb on your statement that you never see, because most people don't even look at their statements. And there'll be a blurb that says, okay, the prices are going up on this day, and there's going to be this fee and that fee. Well, if you're not paying attention, it's just like that cable company I was talking about. The fees go up, you don't fuss, everybody's happy, right? Well, so when I told him that, and I said, I appreciate loyalty, it works in my favor all the time. I love loyalty, but if you're not talking to him and it's been 11 years, you should at least call him and ask him to review your stuff, because I'm sure you're paying a bunch of junk fees that he doesn't even know you're paying if he didn't take the time to review it. And the guy says, well, it's a jewelry store. There's 2-week window of the whole year that I'm willing to talk to anybody, and this is the 2-week window. And he said, call me back during that 2-week window and tell me that I told you to call, and then I'll know it was you, and then I'll talk to you. Okay. Put it on my calendar, called him when I was supposed to, and guess how much money I saved him? Close, still low. Yeah.
25.
No. $13,000 a year, 1 year, on his payment processing, just because he took the appointment. So, does that unleash some savings?
Yes.
Right? When everybody's pinching the bottom line and you're trying to figure out how you're going to afford, all the stuff, this is one way to do it. Payroll companies. I was in banking for 15 years. The payroll companies, like the ADP and the paychecks and stuff, they give you that intro rate. That intro rate is like 1 year, and then it just systematically increases. And I watch businesses. They would start with ADP. 3 years later, they would go to paychecks. 3 years later, they would go to ADP. 3 years later, they would go to paychecks, because they were always chasing that intro rate. And it's a big pain in the rear to make that change. And on the year that you make that change, you're paying twice for the W-2s and stuff, the tax forms. But they know that most of the people aren't going to take the time to make the change. Part of what I do as a consultant, I have partners that I refer to. That's why I said advertising. Yep, I refer to people, right? I have payroll companies. I have 2 local payroll companies. All they do is payroll. And they will happily give you that intro rate, and then you get to stay at that intro rate. And you get to stay a person instead of just a number. Because you know, if you call ADP and you want to talk payroll, you're going to go through some, you know, I'm client number, blah, blah, blah. And then you have to prove who you are and all the things. Where here you can just go, hey, Nathan, it's Shannon. You know, that kind of thing. Other business services. Think about the business services you pay for. Maybe I deal with a lot of restaurants. So I think of like Filta is a grease cleaning. Like they will come, filter out your grease, change the filters, all of that kind of stuff for you. All these companies that you have a service to pay for, the oven hood cleaning people, the floor cleaning people, you know, the janitorial, there's a janitorial service out there. Those contracts, when those contracts are up, they just keep on going, but the rates tend to creep. And that's one of those things where I would say, call. So your homework would be to make a list of services. Like, what services do I pay for? You guys, you are paying for cleaners, I'm sure, right? You're paying for power bill. You're paying for garbage pickup to come. You're paying for maybe some IT services, some networking services, security type of things, right? I mean, think about the list of the services that you're paying for. Take the moment to call them and ask them to, hey, let's go over my contract because I'm shopping. You're shopping? Yeah, I'm shopping. Because I feel like, you know, prices have gone up since we started, or, you know, I feel like there's other competitors out there that might want my business. That kind of thing. You can also, there's companies that are similar to what I do that actually will systematically go through all of your services. And what they do is they have you sign a power of attorney where you're giving them permission to act on your behalf. They will call the garbage companies, they will negotiate the rate, and whatever the savings is, they split that savings with you. So if you're not the person who's going to do it yourself, I don't blame you, I'm not really that person either when it comes to stuff like that. Then you can use a company like that, right? Use a business consultant like that that's going to do it for you. You're still going to save money, you're just not saving as much because you didn't act on your own behalf, right? When it comes to the payment processing though, I don't charge you a thing. But when it comes to, you know, like reviewing garbage contracts and reviewing your cable contracts and things like that, that's where, if you want to do it yourself or use one of the other companies like I was recommending, you can do that. As far as point of sale systems, property management systems, patient management systems, things like that, there's a wide range of costs. So example, you guys are chocolate, right? Do you have a point of sale system that you use currently? Do you mind sharing what it is? Square? Okay. So Square is an aggregator. They're not a processor. The beauty of the aggregator is it's their money and they choose to give it to you. And because it's their money, they get the rate on everybody and then they charge you the flat rate so they can keep the difference. So their sole job is to facilitate between you and an actual processor, your transaction, right? What you find with Square, as an example, is the moment they feel like there's a transaction that is suspicious or, you know, oh, it's a larger transaction than normal, they'll send you an email that says, you know, there's 90 days now where we're going to hold your funds and now you have to prove that you're a business like you would with any of the other processors. But now you have to have your, you know, list of things, your SS4 and your articles of incorporation and blah, blah, blah. And if we like your documents in 90 days, then we will turn over your money. So, and there's a couple examples for Square which don't really apply to you, but like when I did credit card processing for a bank, I would get these frantic calls. One was a car dealership that they decided that they were going to take down payments with Square, and they took a $3,000 down payment, and then they got the email. Whoa, that's a large transaction. We don't trust that you're a real business now. You have to send us all the stuff. We're going to hold your funds for 90 days, and at the end of the 90 days, if we like the documents you sent us, we'll give you your money. And that's when they, called the bank and wanted help. So then I could only help them for the future. I couldn't help them for that current transaction. But I will say, when it comes to their point of sale system, which would now apply to you, if you're using their point of sale, you're buying your equipment and you're paying monthly to have that point of sale. If you do their online, you're paying for their website, you're paying for their online, you're paying for their loyalty. Anything that you do with them is an extra cost. Not all point of sale systems are like that. A lot of them are, but not all. So I work as a broker, I work with multiple processors. I find the system and the processor that works right for the business in front of me. So the B2B guy, I'm going to use a different processor for. But a restaurant or a chocolate company, I would use a different point of sale for that specializes with hospitality, restaurants, hotels, and stuff like that. They give you free equipment. They'll give you a signing bonus of $5,000 if your volume is currently 30,000 or more. They will give you, all the things are free and included. They'll build you a website, they'll do online ordering, they'll do loyalty, they'll do scheduling, they'll do reservations, wait list, marketing. Everything is built into the $30 monthly cost. So that's one way where, I don't know what you're paying for your Square, and I'm not asking you to tell the group. But I know that Square charges, monthly for every little thing you do. And next thing you know, you're paying $200 for something you could be paying $30 for with this system who gave you the free equipment, So that's another one of those. Unleash the savings, right? And that company is who I was referencing when I said forensic audit. We have restaurants that when we find something suspicious with their transactions, we have forensic auditors that will look through the transactions, because sometimes you'll have servers who will, they'll start the day, they'll charge they'll take a couple tickets, and the first couple tickets were cash. So we just clock out. And then we'll clock back in. So those sales don't count, so I can pocket them. Some systems aren't smart enough to catch that. Our system won't let them do that. Our system, you can clock out and clock back in, and it's still gonna track that sales. But one of the things people would do is they would take a cash sale and then they would just void the check. Our system will catch it, and the forensic auditors go through all the transactions and they find it. And then they say, okay, how come this one server has all these voided checks, right? Things like that. What else? It's 2:33. We have 45 minutes to go. Let's talk about some other ideas. So, does anybody have any questions about what you've heard so far? Does anybody have any questions about things that you could do with your business to cut costs? As an example, yes, ma'am. Water delivery? Yeah. So like the Culligan man kind of thing?
Yeah, like we own the thing that the water goes into.
Dispenser.
Yeah.
Got it. Oh, and I know that there was...
But then we do have water in the big 5-gallon jugs, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, and even like the soda dispensers too, there was a whole thing with restaurants with the laws, the way it was written was that whoever provided you with the equipment that the soda would come out of would, I forget how it worked. They would provide it, but they had to have a monthly fee. It had to be on a contract with a monthly fee. And like COVID, when restaurants were shut down, they were still required to pay all those fees even though they weren't using the equipment, but hey, it was required. And then they would tell them that they couldn't use multiple products. So if Pepsi gave you your machine, then all your products within the machine were Pepsi, and you weren't allowed to mix and match. But something recently changed on that law.
Like with the water, first they'll charge you just for the replacement water. Those jugs won't go up, but then all of a sudden on your bill you'll see a service charge. Doesn't tell you what it is, or then all of a sudden a delivery charge is in on top of the service charge. So they're saying, oh, we're not charging you more for the water.
Right.
But they really are.
Right.
It just keeps adding up.
Right. And that's exactly the kind of contracts. Those are existing service contracts that you can just take a moment, do an annual review, or maybe a biannual review. I know in the credit card industry, 3 years. So when you get a good rate, it's good for 3 years. So you have some time, but not everything. Like with my cable company, you know, my contract, my special is good for a year. And then after a year, the moment that amount changes, you need to call them right away and say, hey, I noticed. And as long as you notice, we'll go ahead and, you know, take it back down. We'll find another special for you, right?
Do you do that for businesses? Because I did that with our home and it didn't work.
I
actually switch companies.
Okay, well, so every time I've called, I've gotten things down for both my home and business, and I have a Spectrum business guy that I call whenever I need to, and they'll look at, now there are some times where your deal is good enough that you're not getting anything better, but that means it didn't go up either, you know, from whatever you agreed to. Sometimes they'll even put you on national pricing just to get you better rates. But they will, and I have all kinds of connections like that, which is why, you know, they wanted us to speak on ways for people to cut costs. I know my primary thing is the payment processing, which is why that's the part that I talk to the most. But I know that there's other things like that. So when I'm in front of somebody and they talk about the cable prices, I got a guy, he'll review it. You know, Dish has great deals for restaurant association members. If you're part of the restaurant association, you're automatically saving like $1,000 a year. There's a lot of different ways you can get savings too with things like that, those associations that are here to benefit you.
Yeah, credit card processing is unbelievably expensive.
Yeah.
And everybody has credit cards.
Yep.
Nobody really wants to carry cash.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. Yep. Well, and one of the things that I do as far as the payment processing goes is a lot of times you put that sticker up that says that I have a supplemental fee added to everything, and then you're willing to give them a cash discount if they pay with cash. Well, now you're not paying that fee for the credit card processing, which it's kind of funny because I've always had the ability to do that, and I always talked people out of it. Because prior to COVID, when somebody would ask me to charge the fee to a customer, I would tell them, no, that's a horrible business model. It's a cost of doing business. Just plan for it, you know. And I would tell them, you know, they just had this wonderful dinner and now they're going to go to the register and you're going to add a fee for the credit card. They're going to be mad and you just ruined their beautiful dinner. And I would talk them out of it. COVID happened. COVID educated the customer and changed the mentality of the customer. They now understood. They didn't know prior to COVID. They didn't know that every time they swiped their card, you were paying a fee. Like the credit cards, maybe. Debit cards, it's like cash. You're right, it's cheaper. It's not free, right? So during COVID, when they would talk about restaurants being closed, well then they were open, but they were taking the food out to the car. Well, now they were selling less, but they were paying more for their processing, because remember when I said that processing was all about risk. So if the card isn't present, you're at the highest end because you're paying the most because it's the riskiest transaction. So now these restaurants were selling less, but they were paying more, and they talked about it in the news. Well, then when the restaurants finally were open and the people just wanted to support them, and the restaurants added a fee to cover the credit card processing, nobody blinked an eye. And now restaurants have been doing it for the last 3 years successfully. So now you have a bunch of other businesses all wanting to jump on board. I have doctor's offices, chiropractor's offices, mechanics that do the charged fee to the customer. And you know, if it's a $3,000 repair, if I got the money, I'll go get the money. If I have to use my credit card, I get it, but then you pay the fee. And then it's not coming out of his costs. So it's a different mentality shift, which I've actually come around in thinking that even though I'm one of those people that doesn't carry cash, I'll pay the extra fee for using my card. And I understand it's a convenience to me to use my card, but it's also a convenience to you because you don't have the overages and shortages. You're not running to the bank with those deposits. You're not all those things. One of my clients actually, they were a food vendor at Summerfest who, when Summerfest mandated that it was card only, He was like, I'm so glad they did that. He was leaving every other hour doing cash runs to the bank. And he would lose all that time getting in and out and safety, carrying all this cash, running to the bank every other hour. And now he was mandated to do credit card, and he's like, I should have done that sooner. I never thought, you know, you gotta learn lessons sometimes the hard way. Sorry, I'm jingling. I even had, when I was working for the bank, the Burlington Farmers Market started, and the farmers market people, they would come in and they would ask for change, and I would tell them, you need to take credit card, you know. Oh no, I don't want to pay those fees. I'm like, people like me don't carry cards. So if I see a farmers market and I pull over, if you don't take card, I'm not even going to be able to buy from you anyway, you know. And it was funny because week after week, I would tease them about getting credit card processing, and they would tell me no. And then I had 2 of them decide to take the credit card processing, and they both came back and said, oh my gosh, I should have done this so much sooner. My business quadrupled as soon as I started taking cards. I'm like, yeah, because people like me don't carry cash. But
How do you add the percentage on?
well, there's different ways, just for everybody's knowledge, when it comes to credit card processing, MasterCard and Visa made 2 rules. One was called cash discount, one was called surcharge, okay? They made the rules, they're regulations. You'll hear people say, it's against the law.
Yeah, I did hear that.
It's regulations that MasterCard and Visa set up for themselves. And they have 2 programs. If you use their verbiage or follow their programs, then you have to follow their rules, and if you don't follow their rules, they give you a fine. What most of the places are doing is they're not playing by their rules. If I do a supplemental fee, they can't tell me I can't charge a supplemental fee. They can't. If I say it's a payment processing fee, they can tell me I can't do that. If I call it a credit card fee, I can't do that. They can tell me I can't use verbiage that plays in their realm, but they can't tell me I can't charge a convenience fee or a supplemental fee or whatever it is I want to call it. I can add a fee, and I'm allowed to give you a discount if you pay cash. So what most people are doing is we call it dual pricing, we call it advantage, we call it all kinds of things, and all it is us going around the MasterCard Visa 2 rules. And the reason we do that is MasterCard Visa, like when they developed their surcharge rules, it was a long time ago. Gas stations have been doing it forever. You know, 5% discount, that's the cash discount model. When they developed that surcharge model years ago, what they said was that you had to enroll with them ahead of time to tell them that you were going to do the surcharge program, and then you had to follow their rules. And at the time, the surcharge amount wasn't capped, but because of COVID, so many people were doing these dual pricing, and the credit card processing dipped a little, which when you're talking billions, a little is a lot, right? When that dipped a little, they didn't like the idea of the dual pricing because they didn't want to disincentivize somebody to use a credit card. So then they changed the limit on their surcharge program to 3%. So now you'll see that too. It's against the law, charge more than 3%. Regulation has nothing to do with law. Visa's regulation has nothing to do with law. But if you play by Visa's rules, which is the surcharge rules, if you use their verbiage, you're opening yourself up to fines from them. So if I call it a surcharge, I better follow the rest of their rules. If I call it a credit card fee, I better follow the rest of their rules, that kind of thing. But yeah, so like my system, it's dual pricing. It tells you this is the cash price, this is the credit price. And then the person at the register pays, either whip out the cash and pay the lower amount, or they whip out their card and they pay the higher amount. But they're looking at both totals, equal size, big font, cash price, non-cash price. I mean, it's obvious. And we give them stickers to put on the door that says that there's a supplemental fee added to everything, but you could pay cash and save, right?
Yeah, I've noticed that in a lot of restaurants.
Yeah.
Lower the tip amounts, they'll say cash price or something.
Yep,
Somebody
exactly.
told us once to be an all cash business, but just put an ATM in your store.
So again, I don't mind paying 3%, 3.5%. I'm not gonna pay $3 to an ATM and then $3 to my bank to get a $20 bill out of an ATM. So places that do that, they're still not getting my business, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I get it though, because there's actually, I know 2 places that still don't take credit card.
yeah. There are a few around.
Yeah. They don't get my business, but there are.
Well, I think like farmers markets, the thing about cash is you don't have to report it. I mean, I'm not saying.
Yep, I get that.
Some of that is their thinking too.
Right. I get that a lot actually when people are considering doing a point of sale or not doing a point of sale is point of sale tracks all of your sales, no matter how the payment method is, versus some of the people like with registers, they would just pop the money in the register and keep on going. I don't dictate how people run their business. So, yeah, exactly.
How come, like Square is probably our 4th processor since we've been in business.
Okay.
How come like some of them, we don't get a detailed bill, but other processors, there might have been 50 MasterCards listed on there, and almost every one was just a little bit different in what they charge.
That is interchange. So MasterCard and Visa, remember I was saying if the card isn't present, that's the highest risk? Okay, MasterCard, Visa, they developed these things called interchange rates. Those interchange rates are both tied to the risk of whether the card is present or not, but it's also charged to the card brands, and the bank that issues the card are the 2 people that get the interchange rate. So think Capital One Visa, right? Or, BMO Harris MasterCard. It's the bank and it's the card brand. They're the ones that get the interchange rate. Now, if I get a plain old vanilla credit card that doesn't have any rewards, nothing fancy, low interest rate, 0 interest rate, whatever, that card is also going to be a low fee to the merchant, which would be you. But if the credit card has airline miles and 5% cash back and all the things, the customer thinks that that credit card company is giving me all this cash back. No, it's Mr. Merchant who's giving me all that cash back, right? So those are various interchange rates. So every credit card is going to have a rate for card in person. They're going to have a rate for card not in person. They're going to have a rate for the card wasn't in here, but they gave me the extra information like I talked about for the retail people where you get the address, the B2B people where you get the MCC code and the purchase order number and stuff. Anytime we add that extra information, we're taking the risk down, we're taking the cost down, we're keeping more money.
I noticed Square asks if the card is present.
Yeah.
Like if you take a phone order and they give you the number over the phone.
Yeah.
They'll ask you if the card is present.
Yeah.
I always say it is, just because I know they don't say it is.
Yeah, so Square is a flat rate, because like I said, they're an aggregator, not a processor. So the reason you don't get all those interchange rates from them is because they're not telling you what your interchange rates are. They're paying the interchange rates, and then they're just charging you that flat rate, and they get to keep the difference. Yep. And then I know you got here a little bit later, so what industry are you in?
I work with them.
You work with him. Aha, advertising, gotcha. And you guys probably do that B2B then, because you're helping businesses do their advertising. Do you use like a QuickBooks or something?
Yep.
Okay. Have you ever heard of Biller Genie? Biller Genie costs $25 a month, flat fee, and it automates your invoicing. So you would put the invoice in, Biller Genie takes over, it will send them reminder emails, it will make sure the payment gets made. The moment the payment gets made, it'll even post it to your QuickBooks as paid. It does everything for you, it's $25 a month. The beauty of something like Biller Genie is then somebody like me can step in and do the processing. You're still using your QuickBooks just like you always did. You put your invoice in, Biller Genie takes over to make sure you get the payment, and the payment runs through a processor like me, so you pay less than what you pay to QuickBooks. So there's all kinds of ways to cut costs, to save money. Shipping, oh my goodness, I don't have any advice for that. I don't know how to save money on shipping. Same thing where you call them and you negotiate. You tell them that you're changing or shopping to change. Or if it's a case where We Energies is my only choice for power, then you can ask them though, what can I do? Is there a review I can get to see where there's excess energy being used? They'll do that, and they'll do that. That's part of the money that they collect from all of us, is to help people cut their costs. I don't know. Yeah. And your water people, I know you had asked about the water people, maybe you could tell them that you're shopping for a different water company though, to get them to reduce the cost.
That Bilogy, do you have to be using QuickBooks to use that?
No. Well, it does work with other systems. There's other ERP systems as well that have similar stuff. So is there an ERP that you're using, or what?
ERP, is it the same as a CSM, or like?
No, ERP would be like wholesale, like manufacturers that sell wholesale, they'll use an ERP where it's like automated. It's more than QuickBooks, I should say. Like it's for higher volume type of things than QuickBooks would do. It just automates more processes.
I see a system out there called Clover.
Yep.
Is that comparable to QuickBooks?
No, Clover is one of the systems that I can sell actually. I picked that system for retail type businesses. I don't sell it to restaurants because it doesn't do restaurants well. It's one that does everything okay, and then you get different apps for whatever it is you're doing. So like, I've sold Clover to a pizza place that wanted it because there was a pizza app that ran through Clover that they did. And it's not my first choice, but that's what they wanted. And I told them, I have other ones that would do it better, but if this is what you want, I can do it. That's what they went with. They ended up not liking it like they thought they would. But, I only have so much say in what they do.
Does Clover have timesheets in it?
Yes, it does. Well, most point of sale systems do. Yep. So like the one that I was talking about that's free equipment, that would give you a $5,000 signing bonus as well. Everything is included from the scheduling to the, you can do all your labor reports and time card reports and stuff, and then there's marketing, there's loyalty, there's website, there's online ordering, there's all kinds of stuff. It's all free and included in just the $30 fee that you pay to have a station. What other types of things you want to try to save money on that I can throw a little advice to? Love your little. She's the bee painted lady. Bee painted face painting. See, it's glittery and
Or
pretty.
if you want to take credit cards, but you don't have like a point of sale device, like you just want to do it maybe online.
Yeah, so that's part of the discussion that I have, is all the ways people take payment. If you're just taking payment because you want to send an invoice, then there's gateways that would send an invoice. There's gateways that would send recurring payments. There's gateways that would retain the card information for you. There's gateways that will even look for updated expiration dates. So like if you have somebody on a recurring billing and then it fails because the expiration date was out, you can either call the person yourself, or you can have the system just automated go look for the new expiration date. All of that stuff is available. One of the things that I love about recurring billing is, we were just talking about this at lunch, the people that do subscription selling, it's so good for your business because that's income that you are already planning on, that you get to count on because it's subscription. So you can use that for leverage, for lending leverage, for all kinds of things. But it's also one of those things that people set it and forget it. We were talking about a wine membership. We were talking about Cooper's Hawk, and you pay that monthly fee to be a wine member, but something came up and I didn't go get my free bottle of wine this month. Oh, darn. Free money, right? Anything subscription. And with those subscriptions, you can set it up too, where, like, I have a web design company that she'll say, it's going to cost me $15,000 to make you this website, and I'll take payments over 6 months. And then she'll put it in her virtual terminal, this much every month for 6 months, and stop. And it'll just do everything for her. and everything's good. And it's all automated. Automated is good when it comes to, like, my goal for businesses is to cut costs, but also to increase efficiency. If I can help you be more efficient in running your business, time is money.
What
And
about
fit.
on the website, like we use Shopify,
Uh-huh.
can you save money on that?
Well, so our website's free, and it's included with that $30 a month that you pay. However, if you're talking about shipping chocolates all over kind of thing, that's where the Shopify that's the reason Shopify is a good thing. There's other companies similar. There's like BigCommerce, or BigCommerce, I should say. There's other sites that are like Shopify. They're all kind of close though. Like, there's not a big disparity in the cost with them. I feel like Shopify does a really good job.
Yeah, I don't have any problems.
Yeah. I have a hard time competing with Shopify. I can't really beat it. Like, I can get barely under it. It does a good job. Yeah.
So with Shopify, do you have to sell a product? For example, like we sell content, and we used to have a content store available for our clients. We don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
And I thought, could you do that on Shopify?
You could, but you wouldn't want to, because then you're paying more than you should. The Shopify shines because of their shipping management. That's where they really shine.
Because we just be given deliverables through digital.
Yeah, so you can do that with any payment gateway on your website. The thing that people have a problem with their websites a lot of times is they might use like a Wix. Wix is a wonderful website for, like, anybody can create a Wix website. It's so user-friendly and intuitive. But for whatever reason, they only work with Square and Stripe, and those are aggregators. No offense, last place I would put my business money. Aggregator, no way. Coming from the banking world and seeing how that works, because it's their money, it's not your money. They choose to give it to you. And then when you have a problem, you don't have somebody to call and all that stuff. So if it's a Wix website, you're stuck with one of those two choices. If it's like a WordPress or something else, there's all kinds of plugins you can pick. WooCommerce. I'm sorry? I still can hear you.
Squarespace.
Oh, that's still Square.
Okay.
Yeah, that's their website version of Square. It's an aggregator.
So what's the type of plugin that you can use, like with a WordPress?
WooCommerce is one. Woo, W-O-O, WooCommerce. Yeah.
And that uses a processor?
So what you might do is find the processor you want to work with and then use whatever plugin they have for your website. So there's a lot of different gateways and plugins. Auth.net, authorized.net is like Old Faithful, been around forever, right? Auth.net has an open API, which means they have all their code available for anybody to go look at it. And because they have their code available for anybody to go look at it, anybody that is an aspiring developer can go use that code to put it on their website to be able to take payments and stuff like that. So auth.net is hugely common. NMI is another gateway that's really common. I have processors that I work with from Wisconsin that use a couple of those gateways. I have processors from California, Pennsylvania. It just depends on what business that I'm working with as to which processor I would choose based on the needs of each business kind of thing. But yeah, for anything that's a non-retail environment, doing like the QuickBooks and the Biller Genies and the gateways and stuff like that, 100%. 100%.
So I sell a service, I don't sell a product.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess that's what I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, and that's where the gateway would help. The gateway, so there's the credit card in my pocket, and it's got a Visa and it's Capital One. Okay, so Visa and Capital One are taking that money, and then they won't talk to you, because that's their rules. They only go through a processor. And then that processor has to figure out how to get your payment run, and they can use a gateway The gateway would be the NMI, the authorized.net, you know, whatever various virtual terminals that you want to use. Usually, the processors will have their own gateways as well. And if you're using their own gateway, they don't charge you for it. So being able to make them work makes it work. Awesome. Any other questions? We have new people. What kind of industry are you guys in?
Remodeling.
I'm sorry?
Remodeling.
Remodeling, okay. So do you take payment from people in person or over the phone, or how does that work?
Usually it's a digital form, some form of digital payment.
So like you would send them an invoice and they would click on the link and they would do the payment?
Yeah, basically insurance, yeah.
Nice. Are you guys together? And what are you in? Marketing? Nice. So you probably email them an invoice as well? Yeah, yeah. So I was telling these guys earlier, there's a system called Biller Genie. It costs $25 a month. It's a flat fee. The beauty of Biller Genie is it automates the process. So you go to your QuickBooks like you normally would. You put your invoice in. Biller Genie takes over. Biller Genie will then send reminder emails, nag the person till the payment's made. When the payment is made, Biller Genie will post it to your QuickBooks for you. So it like literally automates the whole process. And then if the payment doesn't get made, they're gonna give you a notice saying, hey, by the way, Joe never made his payment. And the beauty of using a system like Biller Genie, one is it's fully integrated into QuickBooks, which there's a difference between working with it and being integrated to it, right? Like most places, you can upload and download in and out of QuickBooks, but that doesn't mean it's integrated. Biller Genie, fully integrated. And if you use Biller Genie, then you can use a processor of your choice, hopefully me, but a processor of your choice to get your processing costs down. Because QuickBooks has those high fees, now you can negotiate your processing and get that down. So you automated the process and cut the costs at the same time. Nice. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to some real live examples. So when I was talking about B2B, so if you're a business selling to business, the card's never present, right? Again, once you add that code for the type of industry you're in, so if I manufacture, like this particular manufacturer manufactured printers that were $250,000 printers that were the width of this room, like huge. There's an MCC code for manufacturing in this kind. I would put that code in. It takes a little bit of front end work where I put the code in and I set it up to pass through what's called level 3 processing. When I do that, the person calls in their order or emails in their order with a purchase order number. You're now going to go to the gateway, you're going to put in that payment information with the PO number. Now the business on $250,000 was saving 1% additional on their cost. That 1%, when it's usually 3 to 3.5 on a card not present business to business transaction, now it was 2.5, right? That was big savings. And it was like tens of thousands of savings a year, kind of thing. Well, I'm running short. I'm sorry. Yep. If there's questions, I'm more than happy to answer questions, but I ran out of things that I wanted to cover on the things that we could cut costs on.
See the exhibitors.
Right? Well, thank you.